As ridiculous as this sounds, this post may be my last chance. I'm sure someone will tell me this website never even existed before I refresh the page and see an error message and a link to buy the domain. But the fact that Reddit may soon disappear is the least of my concerns. This is all Graydon's fault. I hadn't heard from Graydon in 3 months until he showed up at my door last night. He looked terrible. His usually neat brown hair was greasy and unkempt. Dark circles hung beneath his eyes, and his clothes looked like he hadn't changed them in weeks. But what bothered me most was the way he constantly glanced over his shoulder, like he was afraid someone was following him. "Do you remember me?" he asked before I could even invite him inside. I frowned. "Of course I do, Graydon. Where have you been? I couldn't reach you. Your mother said..." "Please." He grabbed my arm, and I felt his hand trembling. "I can't explain it. Come with me. I need to show you something." We'd been friends since high school, and I had never seen him like this. Graydon had always been calm, composed, and obsessively organized. Seeing him this nervous and desperate was genuinely unsettling. "All right," I said, taking my jacket from the hanger. Emma was already asleep, and I didn't want to wake her. I slipped my wedding ring off and placed it on the nightstand. I'd lost some weight recently, and it had become loose. Since I didn't know where we were going, I was afraid of losing it. "Where are we headed?" "The Whitmore Caves, about an hour north." I knew the place. It was a limestone cave system. They used to run tours there, but after several cave-ins during the 90s, the caves were closed. You could still get inside if you knew where to look, but most people stayed away. It wasn't the kind of place you wanted to visit at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night. The drive was unpleasant. Graydon barely spoke. He just stared out the window and occasionally muttered something unintelligible under his breath. Whenever I asked what was going on, he only shook his head and said, "You'll understand when we get there." We parked near the old visitor center, which had become a crumbling concrete building covered in graffiti. Graydon pulled 2 flashlights from his backpack and handed one to me. "Follow me," he said, "and don't say a word until we're deep enough." "Deep enough for what?" "Just don't talk, please. It's important." The cave entrance was hidden behind overgrown bushes, about 50 yards from the parking lot. Graydon pushed through them and led me down a narrow stone path, swallowed by darkness. The cave was larger than I expected. The main tunnel was wide enough for us to walk side by side, and the rough limestone walls glittered in the beams of our flashlights. Somewhere in the distance, water dripped steadily, the sound echoing through the cave system and making it impossible to judge how deep it really went. We walked in silence for nearly 20 minutes, descending farther and farther underground. The temperature dropped with every step, and my breath formed clouds in front of me. Graydon seemed to know exactly where he was going, never hesitating at any of the branching tunnels we passed. Finally, he stopped in front of a section of wall that looked identical to every other wall we had passed. But as I got closer, I noticed a small hole carved into the limestone at eye level, about the size of a baseball. "We're here," Graydon whispered. "Do you see the flame?" I pointed my flashlight into the opening. There was only absolute darkness. "Graydon, there's nothing in there." "Stop." He grabbed my wrist. "Don't tell me what is or isn't there. Just answer yes or no. Do you see the flame?" His grip was painfully tight, and there was something in his eyes that made me step back. This wasn't the Graydon I knew. This was a man on the edge of a breakdown. "No," I answered carefully. "I don't see a flame." His face twisted with disappointment. "Look again. Look carefully. Are you absolutely sure nothing is burning in there?" I looked again, even though I knew it wouldn't change anything. The hole was empty. No flame, no light, just limestone and shadow. "I'm sure, Graydon." That was when he grabbed my hand and shoved it into the hole. The pain was instant and unbearable. It felt like I had grabbed a burning coal, scorching heat ripping through my palm and arm. I screamed and jerked my hand back, stumbling into the opposite wall. When I looked at my palm, there was a perfect circular burn in the center, already blistering. The skin was bright red and still seemed to be radiating heat. "What the hell, Graydon? Why would you..." I looked back at the hole and froze. There was a flame inside. A small, steady flame about 6 inches tall flickered gently like a candle in a draft. It cast dancing shadows across the cave walls, and I could feel warmth radiating from the opening. "Now do you see it?" Graydon asked, his voice trembling with desperate hope. Yeah, I see it. That was when he completely lost control. Yes, he screamed, his voice echoing through the caves. I'm not alone anymore. I'm not crazy. Someone else can see it. His hysterical laughter dissolved into sobbing and then back again as he spun in circles, waving his arms like an excited child. 3 weeks. 3 weeks I've lived through this hell alone. But now you see it. You see the flame. I'm not alone. I was so stunned by his manic celebration that I didn't notice how close he had moved to the rocks behind him. He tripped over a jagged outcropping, and I watched in horror as he fell backward, smashing the back of his head against a sharp limestone spike. There was a wet, sickening crack. The sound echoed through the cave like a gunshot. As ridiculous as this sounds, this post might be my last chance. I'm sure someone will tell me this website never even existed before I refresh the page and see an error code and a link to buy the domain. But Reddit disappearing soon is the least of my worries. This is all Graydon's fault. I hadn't heard from Graydon in 3 months until he showed up at my door last night. He looked terrible. His usually neat brown hair was greasy and unkempt. Dark circles hung beneath his eyes, and his clothes looked like they hadn't been changed in weeks. But what bothered me most was the way he kept glancing over his shoulder, like he was afraid someone was following him. "Do you remember me?" he asked before I could invite him inside. I frowned in confusion. "Of course I remember you, Graydon. Where the hell have you been? I tried calling you. Your mother said, please." He grabbed my arm, and I felt his hand trembling. "I can't explain it. Just come with me. I need to show you something." We'd been friends since high school, and I had never seen him like this. Graydon had always been calm, collected, obsessively organized. Seeing him so twitchy and desperate was genuinely unsettling. "All right," I said, grabbing my jacket from the hook. Emma was already asleep, and I didn't want to wake her. I slipped my wedding ring off and left it on the nightstand. I'd lost weight recently, and it had become loose, and since I had no idea where we were going, I didn't want to risk losing it. "Where are we headed?" "Whitmore Caves, about an hour north." I knew the place. A system of limestone caves that used to offer tours before several collapses in the 90s forced them to shut down. You could still get inside if you knew where to look, but most people stayed away. It wasn't exactly somewhere you wanted to visit at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night. The drive was miserable. Graydon barely spoke. He just stared out the window, muttering to himself every now and then under his breath. Whenever I asked what was going on, he only shook his head and said, "You'll understand when we get there." We parked beside the old visitor center, now nothing more than a crumbling concrete building covered in graffiti. Graydon pulled 2 flashlights from his backpack and handed one to me. "Follow me," he said, "and don't say a word until we're deep enough." "Deep enough for what?" "Just don't talk, please. It's important." The entrance to the caves was hidden behind thick, overgrown bushes, about 50 yards from the parking lot. Graydon pushed through them and led me down a narrow stone path swallowed by darkness. The cave was larger than I expected. The main tunnel was wide enough for us to walk side by side, and the rough limestone walls glittered beneath our flashlight beams. Somewhere far below us, water dripped steadily, echoing through the darkness in a way that made it impossible to judge how deep the cave system really went. We walked in silence for nearly 20 minutes, descending deeper and deeper underground. The temperature dropped with every step, and my breath fogged in front of me. Graydon moved like he knew exactly where he was going, never hesitating at any of the branching tunnels we passed. Finally, he stopped beside a section of wall that looked identical to every other stretch of limestone we'd walked past. But when I stepped closer, I noticed a small hole carved into the rock at eye level, about the size of a baseball. "We're here," Graydon whispered. "Do you see the flame?" I pointed my flashlight into the hole. Nothing, just complete darkness. "Graydon, there's nothing in there." "Wait." He grabbed my wrist. "Don't tell me what is or isn't there. Just answer yes or no. Do you see the flame?" His grip was painfully tight, and there was something in his eyes that made me hesitate. This wasn't the Graydon I knew anymore. This was a man hanging by a thread. "No," I said carefully. "I don't see anything." His face twisted with disappointment. "Look again. Really look. Are you absolutely sure there's no fire in there?" I looked again, even though I already knew it wouldn't change anything. The hole was empty, no flame, no light, just limestone and shadow. I'm sure, Graydon. And then he grabbed my hand and shoved it into the hole. The pain was instant and unbearable. It felt like grabbing a red-hot coal. Burning heat shot through my palm and up my arm. I screamed and yanked my hand back, stumbling into the opposite wall. When I looked at my palm, there was a perfect circular burn in the center, already blistering. The skin was bright red and still seemed to radiate heat. What the hell, Graydon? Why would you? I looked back at the hole and froze. There was a flame inside it now. A small, steady flame, about 6 inches tall, flickering softly like a candle in a breeze. It cast dancing shadows across the cave walls, and I could feel warmth pouring out from the opening. You see it now? Graydon asked, his voice full of desperate hope. Yeah, I see it. That was when he completely lost it. Yes, he screamed, his voice echoing through the caves. I'm not alone anymore. I'm not crazy. Someone else can see it. His hysterical laughter dissolved into sobbing, and then back into laughter again. He spun in circles, waving his arms like a child, overcome with excitement. 3 weeks. 3 weeks I've been trapped in this hell alone. But now you see it too. You see the flame. I'm not alone. I was so stunned by his manic outburst that I didn't notice how close he had backed toward the rocks behind him. He tripped over a jagged outcrop, and I watched in horror as he fell backward, smashing the back of his head against a sharp limestone spike. There was a wet, sickening crack. The sound echoed through the cave like a gunshot. Graydon's body convulsed once, then went still. A pool of blood slowly spread beneath his head, black in the flickering light of the flame. It took me 2 hours to drag Graydon's body out of the cave system. He was heavier than I expected, and every few minutes, I had to stop to catch my breath and figure out where I was. By the time I reached the parking lot, my clothes were soaked with his blood, and my burned hand throbbed in rhythm with my heartbeat. The moment I got a signal, I called 911. Paramedics arrived first, followed by 2 sheriff's deputies who immediately began questioning me while the EMTs examined the scene. I told them everything, Graydon showing up at my apartment, the caves, the accident. I watched them load his body onto a stretcher beneath a white sheet and carry him into the ambulance. At the police station, they asked me the same questions over and over again. Why had we gone into the caves? What were we doing there? How exactly had the accident happened? I answered honestly every time, though I could see the skepticism in their eyes whenever I mentioned the flame. After nearly 3 hours of questioning, the sheriff entered the interrogation room carrying a folder. "Listen," he said as he sat across from me. "I don't know what kind of game you're playing here, but we need to clear this up." "I'm not playing a game," I replied. "I told you exactly what happened." He opened the folder and spread several photographs across the table, pictures from inside the cave. But there was no body, no blood, no sign that anyone had died there at all. "We found you 3 hours ago," the sheriff said. "You were wandering around the parking lot covered in blood, talking about your dead friend. But here's the thing, we searched every inch of those caves. There's nothing there, no evidence anybody else was with you." My heartbeat quickened. "That's impossible. They carried him out on a stretcher. I saw it." "Son," the sheriff said carefully, "there was no ambulance, no paramedics, and no record of anybody named Graydon ever living in this county." I stared at the photographs, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. The limestone formation that had killed Graydon was spotless, clean, untouched. No blood, no impact marks, nothing. "I don't understand," I whispered. "He was my friend. We went to school together." The sheriff leaned back in his chair. "Look, kid, technically filing a false death report isn't a crime. But I don't understand what you're trying to accomplish here. Are you looking for attention? Are you having some kind of psychological episode?" "No, I'm letting you go this time," he interrupted. "But if you come back with more stories about imaginary dead friends, we're going to have a different conversation." They released me an hour later. The drive home felt unreal, like I was moving through someone else's life. I kept staring at the burn on my palm, the only proof that any of this had actually happened. When I got home, Emma was waiting for me on the couch, curled beneath a blanket in her pajamas. "Vince, thank God you're okay. What happened? You look awful." I sat beside her and tried to explain everything. Graydon showing up, the caves, the accident, the sheriff insisting none of it was real. She listened quietly the entire time. "That sounds horrible," she said softly when I finished. "I'm so sorry you had to go through that, but you're home now, you're safe." She kissed my forehead and smiled weakly. "I have work early tomorrow, so let's get some sleep. You should rest too." I fell asleep almost immediately. That wasn't normal for me, but after everything that had happened, it didn't seem strange. Sunlight poured through the windows the next morning, birds chirping outside, like nothing in the world had changed. Emma had already left for work, but she'd left a note on the kitchen counter. I picked it up and read, "I love you, sleepyhead." Despite everything, I smiled. For a moment, holding that note felt like clutching the last piece of a normal life. On my way out, I tried calling Graydon twice. Both times, it rang endlessly. My first stop was the corner store. I'd been buying the same large coffee there every morning for 2 years, always 99 cents. Always from the same machine beside the register. There had always been a faded handwritten sign above it. Coffee, always 99 cents. I placed a dollar bill on the counter. The cashier stared at it like I'd handed him Monopoly money. "Dude, you know this isn't enough. Coffee's $2.50. I laughed nervously. "Very funny, Mike. This coffee has always been 99 cents. I buy it here every day." Mike frowned. "Yeah, I know who you are, Vince. You come in here all the time. But coffee's always been $2.50. You feeling okay, man?" I turned toward the coffee machine. The sign had changed. Arabica coffee, $2.50 a cup. A cold shiver crawled down my spine. I slowly pulled another $1.50 from my wallet. But as Mike reached for the money, his eyes drifted toward my hand. "Well, damn," he said with a grin. "About time you finally dumped her. Good for you, man. You're free now." I looked down in confusion. I had forgotten to put my ring back on. I forced an awkward laugh. No, I just took it off yesterday because, well, never mind." "Sure, buddy," Mike said, winking as he handed me the receipt. I left as quickly as I could. At work, I tried focusing on my normal routine, but the conversation at the store kept replaying in my head. Around 10 o'clock, my coworker Dave stopped by my desk. "Morning, Vince. You look exhausted." The second he said it, a crushing wave of fatigue slammed into me. My eyelids became unbearably heavy. My vision blurred. I grabbed the edge of the desk to keep myself upright. "Well, at least the tea should wake you up," Dave added, nodding toward the cup in my hand. "It's coffee," I muttered automatically, lifting it to my lips. But when I took a sip, it wasn't coffee. It was tea, Earl Grey, hot, bitter, unmistakable Earl Grey, with a hint of bergamot. I spat it out instantly. I stared down at the cup in horror. I had bought coffee. I'd poured it myself. I'd even tasted it in the car on the drive over. But now it was tea. Dave had already walked away, leaving me alone at my desk, staring into the cup and questioning my own sanity. The exhaustion kept getting worse. My thoughts felt slow and muddy, like my brain was sinking underwater. I lowered my head onto the desk for just a second. "Oh man, already tired?" Joan called as she passed by carrying a stack of folders. "It's only 10 in the morning. Hang in there." The instant she said the words "hang in there," the exhaustion vanished completely. I sat upright, suddenly more awake and energized than I'd felt all day, like someone had injected caffeine straight into my bloodstream. The rest of the day, I could barely focus. The coffee becoming tea, the sudden exhaustion, the impossible burst of energy. It all felt connected somehow to what happened in the cave. At lunch, I texted Emma. "Funny thing happened with the cashier at the coffee shop today. You'll laugh when I tell you later." She never replied. Before leaving work, I sent another message. "On my way home. Need me to pick anything up?" Still nothing. Just before I was about to leave, my boss, Mr. Harrison, stepped into my office. He already looked irritated, which wasn't unusual, but there was something especially hostile in his expression this time. "Vince, we need to discuss your performance." He spoke loudly enough that half the office could hear him. "You've been careless lately. Sloppy mistakes, poor focus, and honestly, your attitude has become unprofessional." "I'm sorry, sir," I said. "I know I've been distracted, but I don't want excuses," he snapped. "You're supposed to be a professional, but lately, you've been acting like a worthless amateur. Keep this up, and you'll end up broke." The word worthless hit me like a physical blow. Something shifted deep inside my chest. A cold emptiness spreading outward through my body. My phone buzzed, then buzzed again and again. I pulled it out and saw notification after notification from my banking app. Low balance alert. Account limit warning. Insufficient funds. My checking account had only $847 left. My savings account, the one that had over $3,000 yesterday, was completely empty. Even my emergency fund was gone. No withdrawals, no transfers. The money had simply vanished, like it had never existed at all. "Sir, I started, but Mr. Harrison had already walked away. I sat there frozen, staring at my phone, trying to understand how money could just disappear from existence. When I finally got home, I knew something was wrong before I even opened the apartment door. The place felt wrong, too quiet, too empty. Most of the furniture was gone. The dining table Emma and I had picked out together, the bookshelf full of our novels, the framed photographs from vacations and birthdays, and lazy weekends together, all gone. Only the couch remained, facing the television beside my game console, stacks of empty pizza boxes, and scattered beer cans. "Emma?" I called. No answer. Then the cashier's words echoed through my mind. "About time you finally dumped her." My hands shook as I dialed her number. She answered on the third ring, sounding annoyed. "Hello? Emma, thank God. Where are you? What happened to the apartment? All our stuff is gone, and what are you doing?" She interrupted coldly. Her voice hit me harder than the sheriff's interrogation ever had. "Emma, it's me, Vince." Silence. In the background, I heard children laughing and a man speaking somewhere nearby. Finally, she sighed. "Listen, Vince, I know it's you, but this isn't funny. If this is some kind of joke..." "Emma, what are you talking about? We're engaged. We live together. 2 nights ago, we had dinner, and you made that sun-dried tomato pasta you love." "Jesus Christ," she whispered. "You broke up with me 3 years ago." My blood turned to ice. "I don't know how you got my new number," she continued, her voice trembling now, "but you're acting insane. I should have known those texts earlier were from you." "Emma, please," I begged. "I know this sounds crazy, but something's happening to me. You left me a note this morning. It's literally in my pocket right now. I'm hanging up. Don't call me again or I'll contact the police." "But Emma, go to hell, Vince." The line went dead. I slowly collapsed onto the floor, the phone slipping from my hand. It was impossible. Emma and I had been together for 2 years. We got engaged 6 months ago. I had pictures, messages, emails, memories, an entire life together. But when I looked around the apartment, there wasn't a single trace that a woman had ever lived there. No photographs, no makeup in the bathroom, no second toothbrush, no clothes in the closet besides my own. With shaking hands, I pulled the note from my pocket. "I love you, sleepyhead." Emma's handwriting, proof. But as I stared at it, the ink began to fade, slowly, letter by letter. The words grew lighter and lighter until they vanished completely, leaving only a blank white sheet of paper in my hands. My breathing stopped. Then I turned the paper over. There was writing on the back now, words I knew hadn't been there before. "You are the only one for me. I can't live without you." The second I finished reading them, I heard crashing outside. Metal slamming into metal, glass shattering, steam hissing from ruptured engines. One collision after another, but no screams, no voices, only the mechanical sounds of accidents happening without people. I ran outside. Every car on the street had crashed. Some had slammed into each other, others into parked vehicles. A few had driven completely off the road. All of them were empty, engines still running, headlights cutting through the growing darkness. The sidewalks were deserted. The city looked abandoned, like humanity had vanished in the span of a heartbeat. I ran down the street screaming for help, but my voice only echoed off empty buildings and dark storefronts. Then I heard a car horn, not a continuous blast, short, uneven bursts, like someone slumped against the steering wheel. I followed the sound until I found an overturned car resting against the curb, and someone was inside. My heart nearly stopped when I recognized her. Emma was trapped upside down in the passenger seat, still strapped in by the seatbelt. A massive shard of windshield glass had pierced straight through her throat. Every weak spasm of her body pushed her against the steering wheel, causing the horn to blare in broken, uneven bursts. Blood poured across the ceiling of the overturned car and dripped onto the shattered glass below her. Her eyes were wide with terror and pain. The horn kept sounding again, again, again. Emma convulsed weakly, choking on blood. When she saw me, her lips moved like she was trying to speak, but only wet, gargling noises escaped her mouth. Blood bubbled from the wound in her throat, while those beautiful green eyes, the eyes I had fallen in love with the moment I met her, stared at me with a mixture of recognition and horror. She remembered me, I think in the final moments of her life. She finally remembered everything. I reached through the shattered window, desperate to help her, but there was nothing I could do. The glass had nearly severed her neck. All I could do was watch the life fade from her eyes. Finally, her body went limp. The horn stopped, and silence swallowed the entire street. I'm writing this now from my empty apartment, surrounded by the remains of a life that apparently never existed. Everyone is gone. The entire world is empty except for me. And I think I know why. You are the only one for me. I'm posting this in the desperate hope that someone else is still out there. Maybe there's at least one other person who touched the flame and understands what's happening. If you're reading this, please leave a comment. Please tell me I'm not alone. Because if I really am the last person left alive, I don't know how much longer I can survive this. The flame in that cave is still burning. I can feel it calling to me, promising answers, promising an end to all of this. Maybe it's time to go back. Maybe it's time to join Graydon and let someone else carry this burden. Please, if you're reading this, just tell me you're real. Tell me I'm not alone.